What's up guys, back with another video today. Today, we got a special guest. My brother! Alright, grab you some blanket, another tradition. Alright. Today we're doing it's almost Father's Day, so we're doing a Father's Day one. Yeah. Also, shout out to this guy right here, Horror Shorts Party, for making these videos.
I had the worst Father's Day experience of my life. It wasn't even with my dad, but with the man I was seeing at the time, Chris. He happened to have a wife who was pregnant, as well as 2 kids already, so it was a messy affair from the very beginning. I was never proud of it, of course. I didn't want to be a homewrecker, but we just sort of fell into each other's arms one night at a bar. Then he told me about his family afterwards. I figured the damage had already been done, so I decided to keep him around. He was the one who had to keep it a secret, and I just had to deal with feeling shitty about it for a few days. Chris would always sell out to his wife and come over every time she went on a business trip for work, just so he could sleep with me. Unfortunately, while I only ever wanted Chris for the pipe, he eventually developed serious feelings for me. It started out small, but then it quickly got out of hand. We started seeing each other more, and hooking up more behind his wife's back. And if what we were doing was already bad enough, I had no desire to get involved with his life any more than I already was. But Chris already made up his mind about what he wanted to do, without considering my intentions at all. Before I knew it, Chris admitted to me that he wanted to divorce his wife on Father's Day and start a fresh life with me. This ended up being our only real fight as I tried to put my foot down, but Chris was unrelenting. That was the night that I learned just how obsessed Chris was with me, and it was absolutely disturbing. Please, just think about it. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I can't do this anymore. I already told you this whole thing makes me feel guilty as hell.
Come on, please don't leave me. You're the only one that can get me up.
Chris, stop it!
I want to do this every night, and I don't care what I have to do to make that happen.
Stop guilt-tripping me! I need to move on from this shit! How do you think I would feel if I came between you and your family? What about your wife? Your kids? You can't just abandon them!
Screw them! I choose you over them any day.
You can't be serious. You're just
No,
drunk.
that's such a
And high off you.
Which will wear off when you sober up. Just accept it.
No. I won't accept anything. We're meant to be together, and I'm gonna prove it. My bitch wife and those 2 little shits don't mean anything to me. And once they're not a problem anymore, we can finally be together. No more secrets, no more hiding. Just boom, boom, bang, bang. And no fat ex-wife on my ass anymore. Just me and you forever.
What? What are you going to do?
I'm going to remove them from the equation.
No, stop. Chris, listen to me. You better not do anything. And you know what? Just get out. It's Father's Day tomorrow. Go be with your family and leave me the hell alone. I don't want to be with you anymore. You're crazy.
After I kicked him out, I had this horrible feeling hovering over me that just wouldn't go away. I didn't know if Chris was serious about any of the stuff he said. I decided to ignore him for a while. Father's Day was supposed to be a special day for him and his family, so I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near it. The next day, however, despite it literally being Father's Day and his family being with him, he wouldn't stop calling and texting me. I ghosted him, but I was honestly worried he would show up at my apartment. I figured I would reach out to him the next day, but by then, it was already too late. That afternoon, I put on the news and saw the most shocking, most terrifying thing that made my heart sink. I saw that Chris's entire family had been reported missing earlier in the morning. That's when I finally answered his call, and he was absolutely sobbing over the phone. I tried to console him, telling him the police and probably the whole town was looking for them, but that didn't seem to offer him any comfort. He asked to come over, but of course I told him not to. That would have been the worst possible thing for him to do no matter what the case was. But I kept in touch with him over the next several hours. I had my suspicion that he had done something, although I never wanted to believe it. I started asking him here and there if he had taken them somewhere, but he denied everything. Suddenly, the next day, the text stopped coming from him altogether, and I knew he had done it. I soon found out that he had been arrested, and before long, he confessed to taking out his entire family just to be with me. It's been years since the tragedy. The case went viral after videos circulated of Chris behaving paranoid and suspicious after getting interrogated by his neighbors and the police. I've managed to keep my name out of the public eye despite all the attention the case got. I have to live with the guilt of what I had to do with it. I destroyed that entire family. That woman and her children are gone because of me. This story was inspired by a horrific Father's Day incident regarding one of the most evil dads out there. The dad we're referring to is a man named Chris Watts. On August 13, 2018 in Frederick, Colorado, involved the tragedy of Shannon Watts, who was pregnant, and her 2 children, Bella and Celeste. The perpetrator, Christopher Lee Watts, initially denied any knowledge of their whereabouts, but later confessed to taking them out. The case garnered attention due to Watts' affair and his changing accounts of the events leading to the slayings. The affair was with a co-worker, Nicole Kissinger, who was unaware that he was still married and cooperated with the police in the investigation. After a police investigation revealed his infidelity, he ultimately admitted to strangling Sharon during a confrontation about the marriage and taking out the other victims to conceal the crime. Colorado authorities released surveillance footage captured by a neighbor's security camera, showing Chris Watts loading up his pickup truck hours after he took out the victims. In the footage, Watts can be seen loading a gas can into the bed of his truck. Next, the video shows Watts backing the vehicle into his home's garage. Investigators believe Watts used that very truck to transport the bodies to a remote oil work site, where they were found days later. There was also another video set up by the neighbors, filming Chris watching surveillance footage of himself that night. Watts tries nervously to explain his behavior away that morning, telling the officer that he had moved the truck from its usual spot because it had been easier to lug everything with all the tools I had to bring in, and said he had been loading the truck early that morning to prepare for a busy workday. But after Watts walks out of the neighbor's house, the neighbor was already starting to question Chris's unusual behavior, saying stuff like, "He's not acting right," and seemed fidgety and rocking back and forth. He was loading tools, but I thought that was a little bit odd because I had never seen him really back the truck into the driveway. Not ever. He always parked it out front, so I definitely thought it was kind of odd. Watts was later charged and ultimately received 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Hey, did you know you
Sorry,
might get
guys.
a big cash payout if you were in a car accident up to 1 year ago? Even if you weren't driving. Just click the link around this video to see how much you can get.
You look like you're being bored.
I woke up in that room, feeling like I couldn't breathe. The lights were off, but there had to be a dozen of us in there, all crammed together on the floor. I couldn't remember where I was, but I knew I didn't want to be there. I was starving, dying of thirst, and the stench in the air was unbearable. Had I been kidnapped? I couldn't even tell. Trying to think back on the last place I was at, I came up with nothing. Like my entire life had just been years and years of this moment. Then, with pure despair, I realized that was true. I had no free will, no hope for things to change. Just this miserable life with a dozen other husks just like me. This nightmare wasn't even the worst part. I could barely remember what the worst was, because it was like my brain had switched itself off to be able to bear it. I was unconscious for most of my life, and this putrid, suffocating room I had woken up in was my home. The rare moment of rest, when things got just calm enough for me to be aware of how shitty and miserable it was to live in this house. But again, my brain kept it all blocked out. Whose house was I in? How long had I been here? With all these questions, I had to ask the people around me. There was someone next to me who felt just warm enough to be alive. But when I tried to speak to them, I could barely make a sound. I felt all this rust and filth blocking my throat, making me wonder how long it had been since I last spoke. I kept trying until it worked, though the answers I got weren't the ones I wanted.
Hello? Is anyone awake? Where are we? What's going on?
Shh, you have to be asleep now.
But I can't sleep.
Then play dead. You know the rules.
What rules? Whose rules?
He's coming. Play dead.
Who?
Finally, the fear of this presence hit me. I remembered it all now. The torment, the starvation, the torture, my body locked up in fear. It was no use running. I'd already done it.
But with nails are
Yo, I can't.
Oh my god.
Yo, I can't. Who the hell makes these characters?
I just had to play dead and wish that I could be spared just this once, because he was coming.
That's it.
It's not you. Good girl. What about you? No. I knew it! You're awake!
I'm sorry, I was trying.
Why are you up past your bedtime?
I didn't mean to. I swear.
Tell me your
Discord moderator. That's all I'm gonna say.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's not good enough!
I'm sorry for disobeying you, Father. Please forgive me for dishonoring your rules.
If I ever catch you like this again, I'll chain you up in the basement like that other little shit! Understand? You won't see the sun for the rest of the year! You'll be eating the cats until you learn to behave!
Please, don't put me back down there. I'll do anything.
I didn't sleep at all that night. I spent the remaining hours before morning hatching an escape plan. I realized they had never done much to physically keep us in the house, except for when we were chained to our beds as punishment. They just had us that broken, that unable to think for ourselves. All I could remember was that I knew I just had to get out of that hellhole one way or another. After looking around in my bedroom at all the girls and boys next to me, who I came to realize as my siblings, looking all malnourished and on the verge of death, I refused to let my moment or theirs go to waste, so I quietly talked with them about how we were going to escape. The next morning, before Father came to punish me, I crawled through the window and ran away, then called the police from a nearby neighbor's house. At last, we were free, all of us. I could barely wrap my head around the fact that all those people were my siblings, and those monsters who tortured us were our parents. They're in prison now, and we've left their house to live with foster parents. I just wish I could say that everything is alright now, but after growing up the way we did, none of us will ever be okay. For Father's Day, we wanted to do a story regarding one of the scariest dads out there. The dad in question for this story is a man named David Turpin. You all may have heard about the disturbing viral case called the Turpin Case, which consisted of the Turpin family, who was made up of the parents David and Louise Turpin.
How many times he banged that?
And their 13 children whose ages varied. What makes this story horrific was how the victims were held imprisoned in their own home for a total of 29 years. While in captivity, the suspects would punish, starve, and hold the victims captive against their own will. After one of the victims, Jordan Turpin, miraculously escaped the home and called 911 to report the unfathomable house of horrors, the public soon learned the awful truth of what David and Louise Turpin did for all those years. When authorities entered the house, they found the victims being held in dark and foul-smelling surroundings. Authorities said the husband and wife pleaded guilty to false imprisonment and various other charges, resulting in 25 years to life, with the possibility of parole after 22 years. That being
that's
said,
just not
I
right.
think it's safe to say that David Turpin is indeed one of the creepiest dads out
That's
there.
just not right.
Why is he crying?
Creating custom clothing with tap stitch
Mid
is simple.
transition.
Start by choosing a
buy
garment,
premium
then click
gear.
Design Now.
Yo, low-key, I need more supporters that need more subs. Like and subscribe.
I always wanted my son Isaiah to grow up with his father present in his life. I made sure I got married before I had any children to make sure of it. But 5 years into our son's life, I found out the cheating scumbag had been sleeping with prostitutes almost the entire time we were together. I had no choice but to divorce him. Over the years, Isaiah's father has come in and out of our lives. I would be happy to say that his son looks up to him, but obviously, he hasn't set a great example. I've basically done all the actual work to raise Isaiah, and for many years, I didn't have the time to date other men. That's why I was so happy when I met James. I felt like I finally found a decent man to date and bring around Isaiah. James and I have been together for 2 years now. Things are wonderful between us, but sadly, Isaiah never got along with him. When it started out, Isaiah made it clear that he would never let James replace his father, but I could never seem to get him to understand that wasn't what was happening. I did want James to be his stepfather when we married, but I just wanted Isaiah to see that there was more than one kind of man that he could grow up to become. Unfortunately, James didn't exactly handle the situation well either. He was patient at first, but after so many arguments and so much yelling at each other, he eventually gave.
Bro.
You see it too. You see it too. You see it too.
Yeah, I think everybody can.
Gave up on trying to get through to him. After that point, there was nothing but animosity between them. James hated Isaiah almost as much as Isaiah hated him, for getting in the way of his relationship with me, for constantly threatening him, and even making it so that he was worried about having children with me. Slowly, I realized it went even further than that. James was actually scared of Isaiah, and he had every right to be. I started to lose touch with my son, and he got more out of control every day. He became more aggressive and violent as the days went by, punching holes in the wall and increasing his threats towards James. One day, close to Father's Day, James and Isaiah fought physically for the first time. It happened so suddenly. James was over at my house while Isaiah was with his father. I went to the bathroom for a few minutes, and during that time, Isaiah came home and saw James on the couch. Thinking he had been alone in the house, Isaiah got furious because he thought James had started living with me. I heard the initial yelling from the bathroom, but by the time I had rushed out to stop them, it had already descended into chaos.
Get the hell out of my mother's house! You don't live here! Back off, kid! I'm sick of you trying to control us!
Stop it, both of you! This is ridiculous!
Shut up, skank! You're the one who got with this piece of shit instead of being with Dad! Don't call your mother
How you finna defend your mother and then
For
go
real.
against her? How does that work?
a skank, you little punk! I should beat your ass for that! You're not my father, bitch!
God damn it, I said stop! What the hell is wrong with you guys?
Well, who are you gonna kick out of the house? Your son or your man?
Neither.
Screw this! I'm going back to Dad's! Go ahead, punk! Run away!
I was at my wit's end with both of them. Despite James knowing how volatile Isaiah was, his ego always got the better of him and he tried to put Isaiah in his place. Having never even been a father, he always failed miserably and made things worse. They had only been left alone for a minute before they started fighting, and even though I was right there, Isaiah still got violent. My only hope was that they would eventually bury the hatchet, but that seemed extremely unlikely. Father's Day was coming up, and I had plans for James, Isaiah, and his father to meet with other members of the family around. The idea was that they could all talk without fighting, since they wouldn't want to embarrass each other in front of the entire family. Tragically, we never got to that point. The day before Father's Day, I was at work, and I kept getting texts from Isaiah. It was all just threats. Horrible threats that he was going to kill James for Father's Day. I was absolutely terrified, but I didn't want to call the cops until I was 100% sure I had to. Instead, I got out of work early and raced home. I didn't know what I was going to walk into. I was hoping that James would be at the house alone on his day off like he was supposed to be, but I just knew Isaiah was going to be there causing problems. I was right, but I had no idea how long he had been there, and I could not have prepared for what had been done to him by the time I arrived. James's car was missing from the driveway. The front door was wide open, and there was blood coming through the doorway. I stepped inside and found James on the floor. He was a goner by then. I collapsed to my knees and called 911, but there was nothing they could do to help James. They went after my son and arrested him, and now the man I love is gone. My only child is in prison, and his father blames me for all of it. This story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a male who was accused of taking out his mom's boyfriend on Father's Day. The victim was a male named James Austin, who was found taken out by a firearm in Damascus, Maryland. The suspect was a male named Isaiah Brown Hawkins, who allegedly stole the victim's car, then pulled out a firearm and told his mom, "I'm going to blank your man," according to court documents. A short time later, the suspect did exactly what he set out to do several times and then fled, a witness told police. Police attempted to stop him when he was seen in a stolen car with an alleged streetwalker at a shopping center. He allegedly rammed police cars, then ran into the woods. Officers took him into custody after a brief chase, and found the firearm in the woods which matched the crime. Brown Hawkins was charged for armed carjacking and taking out his stepdad. In addition to the case, Brown Hawkins allegedly had help from his friend, 19-year-old Kamani Imes. He's accused of providing one of the weapons and encouraging Brown Hawkins to finish off Austin. He was also charged and sentenced accordingly.
Alright guys, that's it for the video. Thank y'all so much. Shout out to my little brother for being here. Alright, well, peace, bye bye, and
Just went in
subscribe.
here.
Your boy
Subscribe and like.
out.